Welcome to the Program Design Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Monique, teacher and curriculum writer turned program mentor and business strategist for coaches, educators, and online experts. Whether you're looking to create your first ever group coaching program or scale your current offer for more freedom, revenue, and consistent income, this is the podcast for you. Here you'll find practical strategies and encouragement mixed with a bit of manifestation and intuition to help you grow and design a program you absolutely love. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Program Design Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Monique, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the belief that kept me broke, or the belief that really stopped me from making the money that I wanted to make in my business. And that belief might be stopping you too, because what I know from money mindset work is that your beliefs around money are running the show, and they are what dictates how much money you charge, how much money you make, where you invest in your business. It's such a massive part of your business. And you have maybe either done some money mindset work and you know there's more to uncover, or maybe you are like me and you're not even really sure if you have money blocks and if really that's what's getting in the way. Because what I remember thinking is when I was starting to look at my money mindset and thinking about, is this something I need to invest in? I didn't honestly even know if that was true, like if this was really going to support me, because I had no idea if I even had money blocks. Newsflash, obviously I did. Everybody does. And we're always like uncovering more and bringing more self-awareness to the stories that we have around money, even as you do your own money mindset work. But in this episode, I want to dive into the top belief that really held me back. And the reason I want to share this one is because it is one of the main blocks that hold us back from making money in our business, especially if you're a woman in business, and especially if you are like many of my clients who are very caring, giving, thoughtful, kind people. This can be a huge one that stops you from making the money that you want to make in your business. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. Before I do though, if you are not yet subscribed, hit the follow button on whatever app of choice that you are listening to, be it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it is, so that you don't miss an episode. They come out every single week. And I would love it if you are a subscriber. So take a moment, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into this week's episode. So let's chat about this belief about how money is running the show and what this belief is. And this is that number one belief that stopped me from making money for years in my business. I see it all the time with my clients, and that's why I wanted to bring it to the podcast. And I think this belief for me was formed, of course, childhood, growing up, but I remember specifically a very kind of hazy, fuzzy moment that this started to really anchor in for me, this belief that I'm going to be sharing about in a moment. And I started off in university at a quite prestigious business school. So it was very competitive to get into. It was part of the university that I went to, this prestigious business school in Canada. And people were really thrilled that they got in to this business school. And so I remember it was my first year at university, and we did, they did these like rallies and things like that where everyone gets together and there's all this excitement going to university and different like frosh weeks and things like that. And I had started meeting new people in this business school and I was really enjoying it. And I remember at one point we were in our actual like part of the campus. We were in like the building. I don't remember what it's called. The building for everyone in business school. And we left the building, and I had only been around business students at this point. And then we joined all of the arts students and the HKIN students and all of the different faculties, right? And everyone had their own color and their own like banners and things like that. And I remember specifically that the people in my business school had, different signs that said like, I don't even remember what it said. You do something, we make the money. And I don't even remember what the rest of it is, but I remember being very struck by, everyone was like, we make the money, AKA none of you all are going to make money. We're going to make money. And it was kind of like in your face that like, we're the ones making money. The rest of you can all like do whatever else you're going to do in the world. We made the right choice. We're better than you. We're making money. And that was kind of the vibe that I got. And I remember feeling like, oh, that's a little uncomfortable. Don't love that. And as the year progressed, the thing I was really struck by is it was such a competitive school. And there were some great people in the school, do not get me wrong. One of them I was actually still friends with today, 20 years later or whatever it is, who was also at that same business school. But the undercurrent of it was that we are here to make money. We're here to make money. We are here to make as much money as we can. And it was very competitive, and it had this zero-sum game feel to it. And the belief that really anchored in for me at this point that I did not see until years later is that I felt from this experience in business school is that you can either help people or you can make money. You cannot do both. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but I just remember feeling really off in the business school. It just didn't really feel like it was right for me. I ended up leaving business school and going into do a French degree and becoming a French teacher and leaving the business world behind and feeling like, oh, business is just not right for me. Because when I look back, it's because I had associated business with zero-sum game. You're just here to make money. It's all about the money. And what I really felt was you can either help people or you can make money. And I'm not here to make money over what I felt like were people and helping other people. And so I rejected that and went into a helping profession instead. And that is the story that I see, like many, many of my clients, a lot of women in the entrepreneurial world. And I mean, I'm sure men too. It's one of the biggest blocks is that we think I can either help people or I can make money, and I can't do both. And that is what I want to look into today to see if this is something that you have and that is stopping you from making more money, and how it can affect how you actually run your business. And is it really true? And how can we start to let go of that story? So the first thing I'll say around this belief is it didn't really come up in my thoughts as I can either help people or I can make money. I can't do both. What it really kind of manifested itself in, and I'd love as you listen to this episode, thinking about what kind of thoughts go through your mind when you're thinking about money and charging people. But what came up for me was I feel like I'm taking from somebody else when I sell. What if they can't afford it? Is this really fair to charge? And kind of taking on this feeling like if I charge them money for this, I'm taking away from them. That was one of the big stories, like the way that this story manifested itself for me. Or I felt like if I really cared, I would do it for free. Now it's laughable. Why did I think that? But I truly felt like if I really cared about helping teachers, for example, I would do it for free. Or if I really cared about the people I would help, I would do it for free. Or when I charge them money, I'm taking something from them. So if any of those stories come up for you, or you feel uncomfortable charging money for what you do, or worrying if it's too much, that might be a variation of this belief that I can either help people or I can make money, and I cannot do both. But is that really true? And we're going to dive into that in a moment. But when you have this belief that you can either help people or make money, it's going to massively impact how much money you make in your business. And you can do all the right things, all the right strategies. You can work really hard in your business. You can get the right messaging. You can follow the right launch strategies, all of those things. But if you inherently feel like you're taking from people or you're not being a good person, you're going to hold yourself back, or energetically, people are going to feel that you don't feel confident in your prices, and it's going to hold you back from selling. It's also going to hold you back from being able to invest in what you need to grow your business, because investing in a coach, investing in coaching programs, investing in ads have absolutely changed the game for me in how I run my business. That's how I bring in almost all of my clients, is through ads. If I wasn't making enough money to be able to pay for the ads, to be able to pay to learn from other coaches, to work on myself, personal development, all that stuff, because I wasn't charging enough to do so, there's no way that I could have grown my business to the point that it's at now, which is at 5-figure months on a regular basis, right? And I want to continue to grow my business, and I need to be able to be making enough money to be able to invest in the business. And I also, this was the big one, that the reason that I was able to get over this is I realized that there's no way I'm going to be able to actually continue in this business if I don't make money at it. It's just not sustainable. So I think from this idea, if you really cared, you would be doing it for free. That's a luxury that people have if they have employment. Do you know what I mean? So when I was working with teachers, that was a big thought of if you really cared, you would share your lessons for free. You would share your curriculum
curriculum for free. You would mentor teachers for free. But that is under the assumption that a district is still paying you so that you can put food on the table and you can pay your mortgage and you can pay your rent or whatever it is, right? But if you are running this as a business and this is your sole source of income, if you're not charging enough money, you're not going to be able to keep up with it because it's not going to pay you enough. Your business needs to support you. It needs to support the other people. Like, your business has many roles, right? It has you as the founder. It has marketing, sales, delivery, client success, like there's many roles in your business, and your business needs to be able to fund those roles. If you don't make enough money in your business for it to be sustainable, you're eventually going to burn out. You're going to have to go back to a 9 to 5, right? So that was the first thing when I started thinking about being able to actually charge people, is realizing I really want to be in business. There's a reason I started in business school, and I need to be able to actually pay myself if I'm going to continue, because it's too hard on my family. It's not fair to my kids. It's not fair to my husband if I'm super stressed and my business isn't giving back to me because I'm putting so much into it and it's not supporting us back. So that's the first way that I really helped myself get past this initially, is just to know that I need a sustainable business, and a sustainable business needs to charge money in order to be sustainable, in order to continue. So that was the first strategy that really helped me start to charge. But it can only take you so far. And I want to give you some other ideas and support for how you can start to think about this in a different way and start to let go of it. And the first was a new belief that I took on. And that belief is, the more money I make, the more good I can create, or the more money you make, the more good you can create. And so what I see is that when my business makes money, I have more money and I can give to other things. I can give to causes. I can do free things. Like, I have more than enough and I can give from overflow. I want, like, one of the causes that I support right now is Doctors Without Borders, or Médecins Sans Frontières. That's what I was saying, because they're the ones who call me. But Doctors Without Borders, like, there's no way that I could support that cause if I didn't have overflow where I could support causes that I care about. I also really want to support more young girls and helping them to be able to believe in themselves and to see what's possible for themselves. Like, there's different causes that I want to give to and support. And I can't support those causes if I am coming from lack and I don't have enough. So when I can see the more money I make, the more good I can create, I can give to more people and I can support more people in my business because I have the infrastructure to do so. So that is the first shift that I started to make, and reminded myself anytime I had that feeling coming up, I feel guilty charging, is the more money I make, the more good I can create. And even if you're making more money and you feel like, oh, well, I have enough, so who am I to really make more? Reminding yourself that the more money you make, the more good you can create. And I'm sure you've heard that idea that women will give more to their communities. They've done research on it, right? And if you're listening to this podcast episode, I know that you really care about other people. Instead of feeling like it's taking away, I see how much abundance I can support other people with. So the more money I make, the more good I can create. That was the first kind of affirmation or thought that I started to take on to remind myself to start to change this story. The next thing to look at is, if any of this resonates for you, any of these stories ring true for you, is to look back where this belief first came from, because it can help you start to unravel it or start to have it feel less true, right? Because a belief is a thought that we think on repeat until it feels like a truth, right? But if you can find evidence that this is not the case, it's a belief, right? And so what you can do next, from a more practical standpoint, is to look at, when did I first start believing this belief, right? And so I could start saying, okay, well, I started feeling it at the beginning of my business. I've been in business 8 years now. I started feeling it when I first started selling like curriculum to teachers. I felt uncomfortable with that. And then if I looked back further, it might have also been because, like, I remember feeling when I went from youth work to teaching, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in a helping profession and I'm making this much. I made like double what I made as a youth worker. It felt like, oh my gosh, I'm making so much money, because I had associated like a helping profession doesn't make that much money. So I should be grateful with this. So that I remember that feeling. And then I remember that memory that I shared with you earlier on from the business school, and everyone saying like, we make the money and you don't, basically. And that really anchored, like, that was a big one for me. And then I could I could trace it back further and further into a little bit into my childhood, but it was that moment that when I was 18, that really anchored in for me. So thinking back to tying it back and looking back at some money memories that you have around money, and starting to notice where this belief came from, where you made up this story, because it can start to help you see, like, is this actually true? And then the last strategy that I wanted to share with you is once you start to see, like, okay, maybe this isn't always true, and maybe this was a belief that I took on, is to look at how can I show my brain that this is actually not true. So instead of always looking at people who are making, billionaires who aren't giving to causes and things like that, do you know people who are making more money who are giving to more people? Can you see that when you pay for something, you pay attention? You've committed to a coaching program, and so you get the benefits of it. Like, I know there's no way that I would have gotten the transformation I've gotten from many coaching programs, and from my clients wouldn't have gotten the same transformations had they not paid me and committed to working with me, right? So looking for evidence, people who pay attention, that when I make more money, I can help more people, that people get more out of it. I'm not actually taking from them. Can you find evidence for that in your life? Or even, like, is it really true that you're taking from someone? I don't know about you, but when I bought a new purse, this morning on Amazon, I'm really excited about that purse that I'm buying. I don't feel like Amazon is taking my money. I decided from my own volition to buy that purse, right? So it's not that you're taking from someone, they're choosing and starting to prove to your mind that belief is not true. So that's what I'll leave you with today, that your beliefs are running the show. And if you have that belief that you can either help people or you can make money, that is not true. You can make great money and you can help others, because the more money you make, the more good you can create.